When we're live. Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties with our connection equipment. We should be up and running now, so I would like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to ask for is agenda changes.
Staff have no changes to present this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we'll open up for public forum. The only people in the audience is the newspaper and EDCs, so I'm going to go ahead and close public forum and we'll move on down and ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, after having reviewed the consent agenda as submitted, if there are no questions or discussion on this, I would make a motion to approve it as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda carries. Next, under unfinished business, we have ordinance 1319. This is ordinance regarding cemetery regulations. Ethan, would you like to give us an intro on that?
Sure. After request from the council and some discussion at a work session, you have a draft ordinance that would amend Chapter 12, Article 4, specifically 12-419, regarding plantings and allowed items at the Halstead Cemetery. Specifically, in Section E, originally that read that decorations such as shepherd's hooks, artificial lighting, wind chimes, or other items would be prohibited. This added F, which would allow artificial lighting only, but it has to be with permission, advance permission of either the cemetery sexton, city superintendent, or the city manager, and then subject to stipulations as to the type and location relative to the burial plot and headstone. And then also add Section G, which notes that any items that are left out at the cemetery or place stones, within, and Brad can probably speak to this, but generally the city does not assume or take any liability for those items being left out there, is concerning if they're stolen or damaged or vandalized, that kind of thing. So those, we believe, meet what the council wished to do. There was some discussion on E, whether we wanted to also allow the shepherd hooks or wind chimes or something also with permission, or just restrict that to artificial lighting. There are some minor spelling, grammatical things as well. So tonight, my advice would be basically any changes you'll want to see, table action for it until next meeting, and we'll get it cleaned up and get a final draft. That way it can be in the packet as well for you guys to review longer than you've had it this evening. But open it up for your guys' discussion or any questions you might have of Brad of what legally this is doing or allowing or putting the city on the hook for, so.
Council, anybody have any changes they want to make to this ordinance as it's written now, other than spelling corrections?
Well, as we discussed earlier, possibly removing the artificial lighting of any kind from Section E because it's addressed in Section F.
That's already noted.
Yeah, so it'd be that amendment. And with that, I would make a motion, as Ethan pointed out, to revise any spelling, grammatical errors or such, to table this and to bring it back for next meeting.
Second.
Any other questions, council? Okay, we have a motion to table this item until the next meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion, or that ordinance is tabled. Now let's move under new business, and the first item is the Harvey County EDC 2023 funding request, and I believe Beth Shelton is here to panhandle for that tonight.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to just explain kind of how we came up with this budget. Mayor Travis is on our board, Ethan's on our board. We have a pretty healthy balance in our checking account and our savings account. We assume that most of the municipalities will be having people come to them and ask them for more because of the economy right now. And so we didn't want to come and ask for more money since we do have a healthy reserve right now. So this budget has us operating a little bit in the red. That's because we do need to hire another part-time staff person. In our office, it's myself and then Jennifer Mueller, and she does our bookkeeping and our retention visits. And our project activity has really increased the past year, and we are not seeing that slow down at all. So we want to bring in a person to help us with some administrative responsibilities to kind of take some of that load off of us. But this budget is also the same amount that we requested back in 2008. So when I became the director, we had a 3% sales tax that we also collected. And then when that sunset, we let that sunset, and then I went ahead and looked at the budget. We said we don't want to take in money just to be putting it in the bank. We want to be using what each municipality is giving us, so we cut back 5% from our normal ask as well. So what we're operating off of now, what we've been operating off of since 2017, is the same as the ask from 2008. So we're really trying to do as much as we can without having to ask for more funds from our partners. Some of the cuts that we made in here to try to get us where we were able to not operate in such a big red number. Some of the sponsorships, we do a lot for sponsoring chambers, United Way, things like that. And we thought those organizations will be going and asking for more funding, that if we don't have those funds, then maybe we won't be able to do as much sponsorship as we've done in the past. And also some of the events that we had been going to. With our project activity up, the reason that we go to the events is to try to drive project activity, and if they're already coming our way, we don't really need to be going out and spending the money on the travel and going to those to get leads. I did mention, I'm not sure if I mentioned it the last time I was here, but I recently signed a contract with a company called GSLI, and most of the projects on our tracker, I would say the past few years, have been looking at larger parcels, and it didn't really make a lot of sense for your industrial park here. GSLI has projects that we can go in and look at that'll just want 1 to 2 acres, 2 to 4 acres. It tells us what it is. We can even find out who the company is. We can get on the Zoom calls. It's something I haven't been able to do before. Before the projects came in, either from a site selector or from the state or from a contact I had, and they came as a project name, they might tell me it's manufacturing or warehouse, and I didn't get a lot of information. This is a lot more information. If you look at the project tracker the last couple months, which I can send that to you and include it, in your guys' packet, almost all the ones that I'm responding to are these smaller projects because it makes more sense for our other industrial parks that are outside of the Kansas Logistics Park in Newton. So I'm very optimistic that we'll start seeing more activity here and in Heston from those smaller type projects. And they're really more doable for our communities because they might say we'll be hiring 5 to 10 employees the first year, or ramping up to 25 employees at the end of year 5, which that is much more doable for our communities to have those people then choose to live here. And also, we're not, right now with the workforce the way it is, we're not harming existing manufacturing while we're still growing, because every company that we go out and visit with, I would say 99% of the manufacturers are down 15% as far as employees because they just can't find the people right now. So we are having a huge shortage and trying to fill that pipeline so that our existing employers are fully staffed as we continue to try to recruit new investment. So if you have any questions about the budget, please ask me, but we really appreciate your partnership, and we want to be as financially responsible with the funds that you give us as possible, and I think that that's reflective in our ask. So.
Council, any questions?
Well, it is appreciative that you've tried to work within your resources over the past few years here, and that's a good thing. But if there are no questions or discussion on this, I would make a motion to grant funding for the request of Harvey County Economic Development Council for 2023 budget year for an amount of $18,000.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the funding for EDC for the 2023 year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I do look forward to those project tracker reports because there's some unique names that come up on those. I often wonder who dreamt those names up.
Thanks, Beth.
Next item on our agenda is, we gotta review a contract for engineering services for Ninth and Walnut. Let Ethan lead us into that.
Thank you for the discussion. We have got the engineering services agreement with Certified Engineering Design, which Harlan Foraker is his company. This is for the Ninth and Walnut project. Specifically, it's some water line improvements along Ninth Street. And then as far as street and drainage, it'll be the 800 and the 900 block of Pine and then, or Walnut, excuse me, and then Ninth Street from Pine to McNair. So this is for the engineering, construction engineering, which are the plans that actually go out to bid for contractors when those are done. And then there's also the instruction, or the engineering inspection and any testing that might be needed done, and those are on a per rate with a not to exceed amount per the contract. Just noted that basically the plan being developed and ready to go out to bid. The deadline in the contract is August 31st of 2022 as far as when we can expect the latest that we would receive the plans and be going out to bid, so. And the cost comes to just over 50,000, and then a little bit more depending on the amount of testing that would have to be done, so.
Any questions, council?
What's the start date?
As soon as we get the signed contract to him, he'll start work on the plans, and then per that, he'll hopefully have the plans to us no later than August 31st, and then we would turn around probably immediately and try and go out to bid to see if we can hit construction schedules this year. You know, what we can hit will really depend after we go to bid. We'll know more of if we'll have a hard start date this year, or is something that might look like an early 2023 project. But hopefully there's still plenty of time, and winter's being milder, there'll be hopefully time, so.
Maybe we'll get a discount because we're doing it in the winter to keep them busy.
Could be.
So we said the cost is just over 50,000, but then there was some incidentals that may creep into that. I would imagine, what do you think, maybe not to exceed a 55?
With his, because they kind of stipulate, we just approve the contract and then it's handled under the terms of the contract. Brad can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
but
right.
That way, because we don't know sometimes when they have
Okay,
to.
so we don't need a dollar amount in this motion then?
No, it's contained in the contract, and the contingencies are spelled out there.
All right. If there are no more questions or discussion, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the engineering services agreement from Certified Engineering Design as presented, and authorize for the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contract for the engineering for Ninth and Walnut. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That one carries. Be good to get started on that.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is entitled Set Alcohol Distance Restriction Public Hearing Date. Let Ethan bring us up to par on that one.
So, looking for hopefully two actions from you all this evening regarding this. The first is under our current city code, we have a distance limitation of 500 feet on any sale or serving of alcohol or cereal malt beverages from churches, schools, nursing homes, libraries, hospitals, assisted living centers, or daycare facilities. Fiesta Mexico was operating in 221 Main. A new Mexican restaurant is trying to get established there. However, per the request of previous governing bodies, when we passed those resolutions allowing that and went through the process of having a public hearing to allow that exception, it was very specific to Cancun / doing business as Fiesta Mexico. So since they have ceased operations, we now have to go through the entire process of a public hearing. where you guys would, again, have to find that service of alcohol or cereal malt beverages is not going to be detrimental to the public welfare in that location. So this would be the first step, is we actually have to declare that public hearing date and put notice of that so that anyone who would like to come speak with either opposing or supporting views can come and talk to you all about that. And so we would do that with our next meeting on July 11th, 2022 at 7 PM. And then this was actually one of the last things the previous seated governing body asked was for staff to look into changing city code or amending so that essentially I'm going to say basically the 1 through 300 blocks of Main Street would not fall under that distance requirement, because that is something we do through our home rule authority. So that because of where the library is, and then Crossroads Community Church, and even, Julie, help me with the name of by Subway.
Zone
Oh,
30.
Zone 33, thank you, even Zone 33. It's pretty hard to find a location on Main Street in our commercial business district that would even be allowed without going through all of these. We've allowed sales now since 2017 is when we did the first exception, after about 3 years of no alcohol being served downtown due to a lack of business wanting to do it. As far as from a staff perspective, we've had no issues. I feel, that like this they have to wait to get their state approval and licensure until the city says it's okay for them to actually sell there under our zoning rules and whatnot. So I really feel changing that would make it easier for a business or prospective businesses to come in and open shop, as opposed to having to wait for this elongated timeline. It's your call. Like I said, the seated governing body did ask for us to bring ordinance to change that, but we do have a new majority now, so before we bring that draft ordinance forward, just want to make sure that that's still a consensus of you all. So unfortunately, it's not going to get us around what we need to do for the Mexican restaurant right now to get them rolling, but hopefully it would keep us from going forward in the future. And the big thing I'll point out is you're still not losing control, because any place that sells has to pull city licensure, and so we still have the ability, through that CMB licensure or weighing in on like their state licensure forms to report if we ever would have a business that would not be operating, in a manner that you would feel comfortable with sales of alcohol going on, so.
I'd like to say that Crossroads in the last couple of years has not had a problem with the Fiesta Mexico being there and selling alcohol.
We've actually received letters of support.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'd like to let the community know that.
How was it that Zone 33 was able to go in there?
If the church can go in because they're choosing to go within that distance, but it was, it'd be the same thing, kind of if that location ever stopped selling, they're good actually running into or issues.
See that, that's not good.
The
That's
liquor
not
store-
fair.
Yeah, the liquor store was there first.
Yeah, the liquor store was
Yeah.
there
And
first.
they,
Oh,
the
the
church
They
chose to go there.
If you ever wanted to sell, that would hurt the potential buyer.
Potentially, yes.
So,
Yeah, I think it needs to change.
well, with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to set public hearing for July 11th, 2022 at 7 PM for the purpose of reviewing request for a waiver to the distance restriction on the sale or servicing of alcohol or cereal malt beverages pursuant to the city, Halstead City Code 3-102.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to set a public hearing on this alcohol distance requirement for July 11th, 2022. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd also make a motion for city attorney to draft an ordinance that would remove the location restrictions for sale of alcohol and cereal malt beverage in the downtown business district.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for this ordinance that George spoke about. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries too, so you got something to work on, Brad.
Yeah.
gonna earn that money.
You got everything you need on that one, Ethan?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, we'll move on down the agenda. And the next item under new business is 2023 budget revenue neutral rate discussion.
As we discussed during the work session, if we anticipate exceeding the revenue neutral rate with the 2023 budget, we do have to set that, or have that information to the Harvey County Clerk no later than July 20th. We do have a regular city council meeting on July 11th, where we could have all that formalized and adopted for you all. My big question is, we did have some discussion during the work session. If you all can provide what you want that upper mill limit to be now, we can not have to have a work session before the July 11th, but if there was still, wanting to see or look at various scenarios, then we would need to schedule a work session before July 11th. That way we can make sure we have that formal document ready for you guys to go. I know in the 21st, the June, our last work session, we, discussed that I just throw in 77 because it was very close to our 76.887 mills that we ended up at. If you guys want to keep a flat mill levy rate of 76.887, you can give me that direction now, and we would basically probably have you then schedule a work session at the July 11th meeting. So it's really up to you all and your comfort level. We need to know an upper limit on that mill, because that's what will be required to submit to Harvey County of our not to exceed on that mill rate. So hopefully that made sense.
Well, I hope I don't speak out of school here, but as we visited during the work session, I think the way I recall it is we were all pretty much going the same direction of going to the upper 77 on that mill levy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Visiting with a couple other people from small communities, even the fire districts are having to consider doing this revenue neutral rate because of, their assessments and such.
Yeah, it's easier to dial back down than it is to, because you can't.
Yeah.
Well, with that, Mr. Mayor, make a motion to set a city council, no, we don't need that
Don't need
work
to do
session.
that. Nope.
Never mind.
I say if you guys, I just knew with the holidays and stuff, trying to get something in the next 2 weeks might be
Okay.
a little tight for everyone, and vacations are planned, so just know on the 11th, we will be asking you to probably set 1 to 2 work sessions for later in the month in August.
You need to set a public hearing for that revenue neutral rate.
We'll do that during the July 11th. It's just for that publication, we have to at that time go ahead and pick our upper mill. So I just didn't want to set it higher than anyone was thinking or do it. And my notes didn't have us 100% in agreement yet on what that top number should be. But 77, if that's the consensus, we'll proceed with that.
So you have everything you need to finish that item.
Yep.
We have no executive session scheduled this evening, so that takes us right into the report section. I'll start with the governing body, and I'll start with you tonight, Denise.
I've got nothing.
George.
Mr. Mayor, regarding people mowing their yards and blowing the grass out into the gutter, I see way more than we should be seeing. And please, citizens, don't blow your grass clippings in the street, in the gutter. It creates problems literally downstream. That's it.
Josh?
I don't have anything, thanks.
Derek?
Make sure you visit your library. They're gonna start the new program next, I believe this week. And check out a book.
The only thing I can add this evening, there'll be a nice car show going on in Newton this Saturday that benefits Wounded Warrior Foundation. If you want to come and look at cars, that'd be a good place to do it. So we'll move on to the city manager report and go ahead and just go right into your financial report when you're done with your manager report, Ethan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, good news is finally met up and talked to the engineer there at Apple. So I believe, hopefully, I am well on the way of finishing up that setup through the Apple thing. Hindsight being 2020, we might have made this a little more complicated on ourselves than we needed to, but I'm hopeful we're done after getting that lovely call from Cupertino. I've been continuing attending the Grassroots 201 sessions through the Kansas Department of Commerce on economic development. So that has been some very good programming and information, especially for small cities, on ways to hopefully encourage economic development. We are working on the recycling ordinance, and hopefully we'll have that available for you all next meeting. Did have an opportunity to meet with Little Art Drainage on the draft contract for the industrial park land, and hopefully we'll be shoring that up in the coming weeks and getting that changes as requested by them. Sidewalk repairs are continuing at 204 Main and kind of on the corner to address the Main Street sidewalk where we had some issues from the building repairs on 204 Main, but that work is well there and hopefully will be done in the coming weeks. Second and Main Street, as many citizens have probably noticed, we've had the street open doing some water service repairs where there were some lead services found, so those are being replaced. They're in the testing phase, so hopefully that'll be complete in the coming week, and we'll get that buttoned back up and put back together as much as we can. There are, Pat has informed me, going to be some more repairs further down the 100 block of Main with some services. So unfortunately, the barricades probably are just going to move and not completely go away yet. Did receive information from the Kansas Department of Transportation that they are planning to do a fall cost share grant round. So we'll be working on getting an application ready for that. And then just a reminder that the city will be closed July 4th and July 5th as a floating holiday. So city offices will be closed both Monday and Tuesday. And then as far as financial, just keeping it very brief this evening, since I'll do a more well-rounded second quarter report for you all in July. But basically, expenditures, we're obviously seeing some pressures in fuel lines for budgets just from the ongoing fuel cost. Departments are trying to keep that in line as much as they can. But overall, we're still in very good shape. Revenues are higher than we anticipated for this point of the budget year, and our expenditures continue to be under what we've budgeted. So just want to commend the departments on keeping their expenditures in check as we go forward. And in our capital savings and capital improvement funds, we're doing very well. Still continue to build those balances in anticipation of larger projects like Ninth and Walnut and stuff coming up, which will hit those. But overall, at the end of May, we were still in very good financial shape. Nothing really distressing to look at. We're keeping our ears out, trying to hopefully learn as quick as possible. If the state's going to change our loan rate on that utility interest loan. I'm watching just overall economic indicators as we continue to build that 2023 budget. So the last thing I'll point out, kind of related to all this, is the reception for Chief Van Scoik is this Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. at the fire station. So just encourage people to come and thank Jim for his 17 years of service and everything he's done for the community on like being involved in Old Settlers and stuff, on top of being our fire chief and the grants he's managed to get for this community. So really looking forward to celebrating Jim this Thursday. Hope people will come out and wish him well in his next adventure. So that is all I have this evening.
All right, well, that concludes our business this evening, council, so I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.